Ladies and gentlemen, let's go warm up for Philip.
Okay. Can you just give your name again, Mr. Philip? What's your last name?
My name, my last name, it is Bloom. B-U-R-L-O-O-O-O-O-O-O-M. Bloom. It's that one there. There it is. Just there. Yeah, don't listen to anything I say. It's 99% nonsense. Oh God, I shouldn't have said that beforehand. Anything that's not about cameras is nonsense. Everything that's about cameras is true. I try to do this, and I try not to be smutty. Anybody not know the word smutty? Okay, it's very difficult not to be smutty. Everything I say has a double meaning, and I don't intend it to. It's just the way I speak in my non-accent, which I refer to as English. Okay, we're here to talk about, just reminding myself, taking the next step from DSLRs, camcorders, black magic. We have a black magic person in the back there. You're going to be performing some black magic today. The joy is you won't be able to see anything with your low light capability. You can see me okay, but nobody else. Ooh. Harsh? 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 Yes, okay, will be. 4K, which is obviously very, very, very important because it's what's being pushed upon us by everybody and more, as much as we can. Here's a couple of photos of me working with two very different cameras. One's the Sony f55, which is a 4K capable, I'm shooting 4K camera from Sony, and the other one is a 1DC, which is still a DSLR, but a very special DSLR, which we'll talk about in a bit. Why have I got a blank screen? Oh, I know why, because it's a one of these. Okay, this is what we're talking about. The current state of DSLRs. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Should I speak slower?
We can hear you in the back.
Okay, well, I knew you could hear me because you put your hand up. It was kind of obvious, really. Anybody can't hear me, I'm putting their hands up, which is always a confusing thing to say. It's like, does everybody here speak English?
Put my thumb up.
Thumb up. Sweet. Yeah, if it's thumbs down, that's like, yeah, going by Roman gladiator times. Current set of DSLRs for video. I hate the term VDSLR. It's a terrible, 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 terrible way of putting it. VD-DSLR. Not really good, was it? Or HD-SLR. It's just, I don't like it. I know it's longer. DSLRs for video. DSLRs that shoot video. Why you want to look at potentially moving up from DSLRs, you may not after this. You may go, I'm very happy with what I have. We'll look at the various options plus two key things which our black magic friend has one of, which is you are raw, baby, aren't you? You keep it raw. And we don't have 4K. No. And it's 2.5, a bit pointless really, isn't it? Yeah. I'm kidding, it scales down beautifully to HD. Beautifully. Okay, who here shoots on DSLRs for video? Who doesn't? So why are you looking at changing? You haven't even got a DSLR yet, huh?
I want to steal too.
Steal?
A steal camera.
I thought you wanted to steal something. Okay, just tell security, that one there. Camera, turn, check her out.
It's only 3 megapixels if you break it down into a screenshot.
Depends on the camera.
Unless it's a 4K, then it's 8 megapixels. But these other, you need a. You
want to come up here?
Still.
I don't mind. It gives me a break. I can go on and go check my emails. I've got a lot of them. Are they all? Yes, stills are important. We can talk about that very much so. So most people have shot video on DSLRs. Give me some reasons why you do it. I'm curious.
Yep.
What about depth of field?
I do it for interviewing with depth of field.
You want to knock the background out, so shallow depth of field.
Yeah, shallow.
Okay. Anything else?
Low light capability.
Low light capability is very, very good, very good. You don't have that on your camera. So what's your name? What's that? I can't hear you.
Wagner.
Wagner?
Yeah.
Like Richard Wagner?
Yeah.
That's your first name?
Yeah.
Wagner? Cool. Okay, Wagner. I'm going to call you, all right, Wagner. Wagner! You have no low light, Wagner. Yeah, you need light. Give me light for Wagner. Yes, at the back.
I think the main advantage is being able to use Zeiss lenses on a Canon and depth of field.
Okay, so
Having a duration and also
hang on. We're on positives. Don't get all negative on us yet. I'm on the positives right now. You can get all miserable on us in a minute. Yeah.
a lightweight kit.
Yes, well, unless you pimp it up to the most ridiculous state that it's bigger than like the Empire State Building. Anything else? That was like a reference to New York. Yeah.
It's really compact for travel.
Very good. I like that one a lot.
Price.
Price, incredibly important, unless you're super rich. Who's super rich here? Anybody? Anybody? Because I have a shopping list for Christmas.
This one right here.
You're super rich. How rich? Which part of Manhattan? Do you live in Manhattan?
I do, but maybe by her standards.
Where in Manhattan do you live? Is it like, do you have like a place looking over the park?
I'm saying these are her standards.
Do you have a building, a whole building?
Not rich standards.
What, are we talking millions?
Or not.
It's just, I have a long list. I just want to know, you know. I'll order it in that case, you know. Start with your Alexa at the top there. Okay. Anything else? No? Yes? Yeah. What? Good? Bad? Awesome. That's American, of course.
You can shoot 4K on a memory card. That's kind of cool.
Hang on. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yep. Another one at the back.
I already have the camera, so why not learn how to use it for video?
It's good. If you've already got a camera, then it's good that you've got one. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Good. Nothing else? I like that too. Okay, here's a few. Who got, and every one of these who got it right wins a $2,000 voucher from B&H Photo. Just choose what you want, go to the counter and just tell them. It's fine. You won't be any issues. Anybody here with a camera, go to the counter and film what happens. It'll be funny. Low light. The aesthetic is key for me because there's a certain look to it that is key. And aesthetic is an incredibly hard thing to explain, and it's totally subjective. What I think looks good, you think doesn't look good. That is what aesthetics about. If we all love the same thing, it will be a very, very, very boring world. Thankfully, we don't. We've already had this one mentioned, have we not? Who said price? Good, good. I'm not going to give you a shopping list, am I? No, I'll be giving you the shopping list, yeah. It's really big. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's a few pages, 8,000 words, okay. Size is important. Who said size? Size? Who said size? Yeah. Compactness, size. I like small cameras. I spent 17 years with a very big camera on my shoulder. Hence, I have a very large chiropractor bill each year. So size is important. Depth of field on the front. The ability to knock the background out of focus with relative ease, as long as you've got a decent lens. Your lens, for example, at 3.5 to 5.6 would be harder to do than, say, if you had a 1.4 lens, but that's the problem, but you have a big range on your lens. 35mm optics, if we had somebody talking about Zeiss glass at the back there, just the fact that we can use 35mm optics and use them fully. Now you can put 35mm optics on an EX3. It's just you're wasting it. You're not using it because the sensor's so small, all the image is just lost on it. So, but we're using the optics, which is absolutely key. And somebody mentioned a very key word earlier. They take stills, believe it or not. Can you believe that? I had no idea. They take stills as well. It's amazing. Okay, so let's get negative issues. Somebody said one at the back. Overheating? Well, not outside at the moment. You won't overheat, but recording duration. Yeah, it depends on the camera. Back corner. Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Audio, a good one. Yep. Rolling shutter issues is where the way the image is captured is not particularly good. It's like if anyone's got an iPhone, it goes wobbly and jello-y. Yep.
Image compression.
Codecs. Yep. Well, that's down to you.
I think we should encounter 3 different people moving in different directions.
Stop down. Close the iris. Put the ISO up. Yeah, no, absolutely. It is harder to focus because you don't have any real, unless you've got a Sony DSLR, there's no focus assist modes, or if you hack the camera. So yes, it is harder to keep focus because the screen, it's like, is it in focus or is it not in focus? So it's like you go from, that's more out of focus than before, which means that must be in focus now. So it's, yeah, absolutely, it's very difficult. Anything else? Yes?
Well, I mean, in general, lens breathing.
Lens breathing, yeah, it depends how much money you spend,
Right.
obviously. But yeah, no, most, even good still lenses tend to breathe, especially the longer ones. So when you rack focus from one thing to another with a shallow depth of field, it looks like you've actually changed frame size, like a slight zoom. You don't get that with cinema glass because they're very expensive and designed for that. The reason being, still glass, who cares? Still photographers don't really care if it changes size slightly. So Breathing is, sure, but that's down to the quality of your glass rather than the camera itself. Yeah.
Audio issues.
Yeah, we've had audio as well, but let's do it again because it is very important.
Limited frame rates, like some of them don't have more than 24.
No, apart from his Black Magic, which isn't a DSLR, most go over 30p. Yeah, but the 5D Mark II is the only one I know that doesn't. Yeah.
Stability?
Yeah, very good. Okay, cool. Let's go through them. It's actually not a true HD image. It's sub HD. You may say it's full HD, but it's not. You put it up against the proper charts and you'll see that it's actually way below HD. So, but there was something nice about that. The aesthetic was beautiful. In fact, it wasn't HD. And when we get into really high quality looking images like 4K, you actually don't want it to look that good. Most people in this room, no offense, including myself, do not want to look completely realistic. It's okay if you've got makeup on, which I didn't do for me today, but 4K is incredibly harsh. 5D Mark II image is lovely and flattering and beautiful. That's why we loved it. Clients want bigger. They do now. We had the 5D rush. Everybody loved the 5D. It's bigger. Now they all want Epic and Alexa. So that's another reason why you might want to be looking at changing. It depends if you're professionals and you have clients. You don't want to turn up with the 5D Mark II these days because it's considered inadequate. Is the camera 5D Mark II worse than it was 5 years ago? Same camera, it's just not worse, it's just there's obviously better out there now. I mentioned this twice, audio sucks. That was like an American phrase, we don't use the word sucks, not in that context. Only when we're like, got a straw, when we've got like a nice, I don't know, some milk in there or something. Wiring editing, image issues. Didn't we talk about image issues? We had rolling shutter. I didn't hear anybody talk about this. It's the fact that we get those horrible patterns and jaggedy lines on stuff. Wiring editing is a key thing. We did have rolling shutter. And somebody who said breathing? Who said breathing? Breathing? You like to breathe? No, you don't. No. Not really, but still glass limitations, you got it, exactly. It's a limitation of Still's glass. It can resolve enough quality, more than enough for the video, but they have limitations. We had somebody talking about record time right at the back. Early gen cameras, 12 minutes, actually down to tax reasons for the European Union, nothing else. Simply because the 12 minutes is part of a limit with the formatting, but the current generation of 29 minutes, 59 seconds, because 30 minutes means it's a video camera, which means it gets taxed as a video camera in Europe, which is an extra 10%. And you may go, I'm in America, tough, they make one camera for the world. Sorry. Codec. Who said compression? Compression, codec. How much? Some of these are very, very compressed and it's not good at all. Bit depth and color space, techno stuff, but it does make a difference. I'll touch a bit on this in a second. And who said stabilization? It needs pimping out to make it work better. And another one, which is a key important for me, who's shot with a proper video camera? Who had XLRs on there? Anybody? Yeah. Proper connections, very important. There's no proper connections. Mini HDMI is not a proper connection. Flimsy, breakable. 3.5mm jacks with an audio input, not very good either. So, solution to these issues, I'm going to go through this quickly. There we go, external recorders for audio. External recorders for video, not on all of them, but like the Mark III and the Sonys and the Nikons, a lot of them have clean output, which means we can record externally and get past some of the compression issues, but just the compression issues. It won't fix anything like rolling shutter or wiring aliasing. External audio is a must using an external recorder. A monitor EVF helps your focusing because it's a bigger screen and ideally has peaking. Rigs to make it stable. You've got to have a stable camera. So is there a solution other than to buy a camcorder? Who's shot on a DSLR for more than 3 years? So you understand what you need to do to get past the limitations. And that's key, really. You just need to understand a problem so you can work through the problem. You need to accept, understand, and work with it. They're still great cameras, but there are limitations. And the biggest problem is you do have to compromise at times. Like, I wish I could do this shot, but I know it's going to look crap, so you don't do it. these cameras aren't great at wide, detailed shots. They're great at nice close-ups, but not great. But they're still really, really good cameras. And then if you do have issues, you've got to look at whether it is a time to move on. Who here is a professional person, as in film person or video person? So this is their livelihood. Who has a proper job here? And the rest of you don't know what you do. Who's homeless and no job? And they're just here for the soup. There's no soup, but there's sweets at the front, so you call it candy. Who here is a student? Nobody here's a student? Yeah, you're here? It's free, so okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, it depends on what you need and what you do. If you're an amateur and you're doing it for fun, you don't necessarily need to go and spend $30,000 on another camcorder unless you're super rich. Are you professional? Do you do it for a living?
Yes.
There you are then, that's okay. So, okay, so it depends on what you do and what you need. Some camcorders will help you in certain areas and some won't. The big question I ask you, are DSLRs getting better? What do you reckon? Give me an answer. Anybody?
Yeah.
Which one's getting better?
GH3. Yeah, right.
You know, it has more aliasing and moire than the GH2. Has a better codec and it has a better low light by a stop, but it has aliasing and moire, which the GH2 didn't have.
You can monitor audio with it.
It's no, it's totally the sensor. Really? Oh God, yeah. Don't blame the glass. The glass is good. It just happens to be there because it's got a larger megapixel count, and therefore to get it down to HD. Who mentioned something like 3 megapixels? You did something like that. It's too many megapixels. Yep.
Why do you think people seem to be tricked into the idea that they're getting better by the fact that the megapixel number keeps going up?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I don't think we're in the megapixel war so much anymore. We still have cameras coming out with bigger megapixels. I mean, we see it in mobile phones still, but then you have cameras come out with low megapixels. For example, Nikon's flagship DSLR, which is a D4, has less megapixels than the D800. So the lower the megapixel count generally means, not too low, you have better low light performance. But I don't think they're getting better when it comes to megapixels. Are we getting any better focus assist on cameras? No. The only ones which have got better are the Sony ones. They give you peaking. Audio still sucks in all of them. The only one that's got any better are the Sony ones, because they have an XLR module which is built into it, which is really good. Not going through a 3.5mm jack, going through a hot shoe connection on the top. So it's better. Although the audio has got better in respect to monitoring, it's still the same preamplifier, so you still get the horrible hissing when you try and push the levels up on low level signals. So they are and they're not getting better. They're not you think 5 years down the line, it is 5 years down the line since Vince went around with his camera up in a helicopter and then put his video out and everybody went mental. So it's been 5 years and we expected things to have been progressing. In 5 years technology, we expect to have massive improvements, and yet certain companies' cameras are, apart from maybe the codec, are identical problems. So really, it's not as much as they should be. Here's some next-gen cameras. One's a Sony A7R, which I actually have one here, which is my one. One is the Nikon D7100. We have a relatively new Canon 6D, which is like a year old now, and the pretty new Canon EOS 70D. I own 2 of those. I love the 60D. Image issues, and I was like, 70D will fix those. No. Wiring aliasing, still there. I'm like, I turned it on, I went and did a couple of wide shots, and I went, really? The same aliasing and wiring, better codec, but really? So that was disappointing, slightly better low light. The 6D, same problem. Same problem. It doesn't even have a headphone jack, the 6D. They dropped it from that camera. The A7R is pretty cool. It's this one here. It's a full frame mirrorless camera, for that thing on there. Massive sensor. This takes really good stills. No anti-aliasing filter in it.
Interchangeable lenses.
Oh yeah, you need that. And it takes everything pretty much, apart from smaller design glass like GH3 glass. This is a Canon adapter. And you get Nikon, PL, you can get anything pretty much, as long as it will cover the sensor. And this is really good. Guess what it has though? Yes, it's got wiring aliasing. Less than the A7, ironically, which has a less megapixel count, the A7, but the 7R apparently it's to do with the actual megapixel count and the division of it down to 1080p. I had a long keynote presentation forced on me when Sony came around to my house to loan me a camera, and it was explained to me. But I do like it. It's very, very good. In fact, its full frame and that sort of size body is great. And it does 1080p slow motion and really, really amazing stills. And also you compare it with Sony's add-on for audio. So it's a pretty neat system. It has peaking as well, and it has an amazing OLED viewfinder. So you get a chance to check it out in the store. You look through that and you go, wow, you'll get focus.
Does that tilt?
Yeah. Look. It's really good. So you want to go Dutch angles. It's so easy.
Is that like the Sony Nexus where you can use other people's interchangeable lens, like you can do different brands?
Yeah, you can take this off, and then you can put get a Nikon adapter. You can get an adapter for any lens except micro four thirds glass or super 16 glass, because it won't cover the sensor. But yeah. That's the joy of a. I'm trying not to give you anything too smutty, but a small flange distance, which is the space between. That sounds slightly smutty, doesn't it? It's not supposed to be. It's a technical word, but the flange is very small. Some flanges are big. This one has a little flange. The space between the sensor and the lens mount is tiny. That's the reason why a Canon C300, for example, or DS or 5Ds, you can't use glass, which you need to set closer to the sensor, because it's technically and physically impossible unless you get a saw out. So having a small flange like this on the GH, anything that's mirrorless is very useful. The downside to Canon glass is it needs electronics, hence there's still no good adapter for Canon glass on micro four thirds, not a really good one. So these are the new generation DSLRs, and every one of those cameras has issues, which sucks. So there's still no perfect DSLR, we're not even close. The key thing is it's always going to be a stills camera first, because the majority of people who buy them are stills photographers and they don't want all these high-end features. There's 3 DSLRs I know of without any obvious moire in aliasing. Can you name them? GH3 had aliasing with moire. And it's not a DSLR, sorry. It's mirrorless. Yeah. Correct. Next. Correct. One more. What's between those two? There we go. What the hell are you doing?
Probably all the wrong thing.
What felt you in 720, 10M20? You might get more into 1040.
Yeah.
That's a special camera. Did you get yours from China? You got yours from China, didn't you? Yeah. No, they shouldn't be doing it. Shouldn't be there. I mean, there'll be a little, but not much. Like on your Blackmagic camera with its tiny sensor, relatively, you need around an 8mm to get effectively a sort of 19 on a full frame field of view. That's the problem. You stick it on an EX3, you need to get like a 6 or a 5 or a 4mm 35mm lens to get that, which you don't.
My understanding is that it's difficult to get very wide glass.
It's good for telephoto.
But then, like, you know, if you're trying to get like a 70 or like a 24 lens.
If you want to film a bird in a tree 3 miles away, it's great.
It'll look the same. Yeah, you're going to get a lower image quality.
The lenses are designed to be using the whole of the glass, not the dead center. They're not optimized for just one single bit in there. It's optimized for the whole thing. That's the negative aspect of it. But you can still use them, for sure. Most.
Like the sharpest part of the lens usually?
It's taken as the whole, really. You can use it, but like, for example, on the F5 and 55, which is super 35mm sensor, you can use B4 glass, which is 2/3 inches, but there's a piece of glass in that adapter which actually magnifies the image to fill it. Otherwise, it wouldn't fill. You can use them, but it's not ideal. You want lenses that match the sensor as much as possible to get true use of them. Yeah, I mean, is it the best in the middle? Yeah, but you're dropping down the actual, the amount it resolves by only using a center part of it. So the resolution of the lens, how much it resolves, is taken from the whole part of it. You're taking a small part of it. It's not as good. But yeah, you can still do that. And we need to move on, sorry. Canon seems to be the only ones who seem to, but the annoying thing about Canon is they only do it with the expensive ones. But the low-end ones don't get the improvements like the 70D. And when we get maybe a 7D Mark II, whatever it's going to be called, I hope, pray, that they will. And like the T, what are we up to, 700 now? Is it on a 700 Rebel? No, on a Rebel T, you do 7s, do you? Americans, you do T5s. So when your T6 comes out, you hope that, unlikely, but this is the problem. I really wish they would, why are they doing this though? They want you to buy a more expensive camera, but that's not fair, is it really? They don't need to do that. It doesn't really, because the benefits of a 5D over, say, a T5i are enormous anyway. So I just find that really annoying. Best DSLR on the market? 1DC. There it is. It's a beast. Why is it the best? Can you tell me? Yeah. It is my number one. There it is. 4K frames can be used as stills, with some caveats down to your shutter speed. You'll be shooting at shutter speed at double the frame rate. So if you're shooting 24p, you're going to shoot as close as the camera will get, which is 50th of a second, which means trying to take any photo of anybody moving, not much fun. So if you're going to do both, you shoot at double, so 100th, double what you would normally do, 100th. You've got to be careful with interference, though, from artificial lights. So that's a good thing. It's around a medium JPEG size. The Super 35 mode looks almost as good as a C300. It's got so many different modes in it, which is very cool. It has a full frame HD mode, looks the same as the 1DX. Very good. It's this Canon camera that does 1080p, 50 and 60. Who would have thought it? A DSLR does 1080p, 50 and 60, and it looks quite nice. Amazing build quality, amazing stills, there we go. And it can also output clean HDMI if you need it. So you want to bypass the actual internal recording, you can do. And unlike the Nikons, which do the same thing, you can record internally at the same time. Nikons when they record internally and output to a clean HDMI. And if you record in 4K, or even just in 4K mode, and record on like a Ninja from Atomos, the quality is beyond beautiful when it records down 1080p. This is the question that I need. There is no answer right now, unless there's anybody from Canon, Nikon, Sony will answer this for you. This is why we get to the point where we're here. Do you need a better DSLR? You got a T3? Who's got anything worse than a T2? Who's got a T2i? Go on, be honest. Go on. No? Okay, so you never use it.
Oh, I got a new one.
What you got now?
The Black Magic Pocket.
Really?
Yeah.
I got that in a minute, okay. You two should sit together. Yeah. His battery will last 90 minutes, yours will do 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hence you're asking about lenses. That's the reasons why you need to get the pocket camera speed booster.
Yeah.
You saw the images I did from it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It just changed the camera completely. Okay, a dedicated video camera. His camera doesn't shoot stills. Should mock him. It's a video camera. I don't expect video cameras to do stills. We've got sport with DSLRs to do both. So I'm going to go through some options to consider. And you need to, first off, decide what's important to you, because everybody has different needs. I get asked all the time, which camera should I buy? It's a hard question to answer. I don't know. I need a little way more information than that. Do you need them or do you want them? It's a question that I did a live broadcast for my charity fundraiser in November last night in the hotel room, and actually asked me a question. What is it more important to buy gear that I want or gear that I need? You know the answer to that. Oh, come on. It's like going, I really need to pay my mortgage this month, but you know what? I'm going on holiday. I prefer to go on holiday. The mortgage can wait. I can do that next month. It's obvious stuff, isn't it? What you need is more important than what you want. I can't believe actually was asked that, but you're not in this room, are you, person who asked that? Now I have potential features to look for. 4K. Who here has a 4K camera? Anybody? 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 Yay! What you got? Look at you. Just sit here. Bit the front. You have a very expensive camera and a very nice camera indeed. Don't suppose you've got your Dragon yet? No. Good luck with that. Long way. Lovely camera though, beautiful filmmaking camera. Very high end, like right at the top end with the Alexa and the F65. Beautiful camera. His camera shoots RAW too. You can shoot RAW. You can shoot RAW. Anybody who hacks their camera can shoot RAW. Who else can shoot RAW video, not stills? Not the hacked ones I'm talking about. I have mentioned hacked ones, but yeah. Actually, out of box RAW. There's not that many. Yeah, who's got that one? Yeah.
F5.
Yeah, F5. You got one? I'm talking about one people who've got one. Yeah. Okay. The F5 only does it with an external recorder though, their own one. 422, which is the color space, amount of color information that is worked out, whether it's guesswork or actual accurate representation. His Epic, there's no guesswork in when he records. Every color is sampled exactly as it should be. Whereas our DSLRs, shoot 420, means a lot of guesswork is done. It's to save on processing power and recording. 10-bit or higher internal is a key feature which you should look for if possible to reduce the amount of banding, which is that nasty effect where you see it sort of, the image starts splitting up. You don't get banding, do you? Not unless you push the image to a ridiculous amount, you won't get banding. Uncompressed out could be a neat feature for you to look at in a video camera to get past really crappy internal recording like AVC HD, which is not accepted by most proper HD broadcasters. A Super 35mm sensor is, unless you like small Super 16 sensors like your Blackmagic. His camera's good. It's very hard to get anything out of focus because it's got a very deep depth of field with this camera, which is good and bad. So it's actually a nice camera. I'll get onto that in a second. So do you want a large sensor, which is going to give you that more shallow depth of field, which is going to, Super 35 will match your APS-C pretty much for the size. It's much smaller though than a full frame. So, or perhaps you want a smaller sensor, like, well, there's actually only one, just a pocket camera. Oh, the Blackmagics both have smaller sensors. For me, interchangeable mounts, not just interchangeable lenses, interchangeable mounts, like I was talking about on the Sony video cameras have interchangeable mounts. The Canon ones do not. C100 is EF only. C300 is EF or PL. Same with the 500. So it's limiting for expensive cameras. I like to be able to know that I can stick on other glass, not I'm stuck with this. I don't want to be stuck with this. Great audio. Now, obviously, shooting high-end fiction, you don't record audio internally, but most people here, I'm sure in this room, will want to record audio internally. Much easier. Who likes low light? You like low light. Good low light performance. They've just pushed up the Canons and the FS700's firmware, so it shoots in ludicrously high ISOs, which looks absolutely hideous, but it can do it. And I like this. I'd love a camera with fantastic ergonomics, and there's not many out there. This is banding. You know what banding is. There we go. This is what we don't want. This is what DSLRs tend to do when you try to push them, or you have nice solid colors like sky, and things like that. Yet my favorite camcorder, the C300, is only 8-bit. So it can band, but surprisingly not as much as it theoretically should do with its only 8-bit, which is 256 variations of the same color, which is ending up with this nastiness. This is the most popular camera in the UK for broadcast. You own one of these, you'll work every day, well, as long as you're good. You will work every day. This is what everybody wants these days. This is the Digibeta of today right now. Has fantastic full HD, great audio, an excellent LCD, and EVF that you can actually use, which is always nice. It's efficient, yet a still robust codec. Your Blackmagic camera, RAW, how much can you stick on a 16GB card? SS, yeah, if you had, all right, how much can you put on a 240GB card? Raw. Half an hour. Okay, 40 minutes on a 16GB card on the C300. So that's where there's a massive difference, obviously. But there's benefits to that, which we'll talk about in a minute. HD broadcast approved, which is fantastic to have that. Best implementation of 8-bit I've seen, but it's only, there's no 10-bit output, which sucks, which is 4 times as much colors than you get in 8-bit. Not 2, it's the difference between 8 and 10 is 2, it's actually 4 times as much. Epic is 12? I think it's 12, so it's 4 times as much as 10, which is amazing. Has ergonomics, you can use that without a rig. Isn't that amazing? I love it. Unless you want to put on follow focuses and stuff. It isn't cheap, that's the problem. It's an expensive camera. And it has very average slow motion if you're into slow motion. We have our Blackmagic team. You can stand up, guys, for this. Come on, stand up. Say names and say, I own Blackmagics. Wagner, Wagner, stand up. Show us your camera. We haven't got one up the front. Show it. Throw it around. Pass it round. Anybody here who's not very strong, try not to hold it. It is heavy. There it is. It looks like the first prototype that TomTom made 15 years ago with a lens on the front. It's a beast of a camera. And here it is here in its current 3 different, well, not this one actually hasn't come out yet, the 4K version, but we have the lovely little pocket camera. We have the not, I don't think, as lovely cinema camera, which is their first one. These are groundbreaking cameras, to be fair. Biggest pluses, come on. Throw it out there.
Super 16 glass, we would use that. The size of it's nice and raw and ProRes, like being able to edit directly out of a good codec. That is very flat.
Okay. Yeah, what about yours? What'd you like? Dynamic range, what's the second bit? Oh, peaking. Yeah, the peaking's horrible though, isn't it? It's just like, it's like massive or not at all. Really, I don't like it on that camera much, but you can't alter the level. Can you alter the level of peaking? It's just on or off, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other big pluses for Blackmagic users? The raw 16 bit, which is massive. You won't get banding with that. Very impressive. And the other format that both cameras, you have Avid in yours as well, DNX HD, but you have 12-bit ProRes HQ, which is around 220, I believe, megabits a second, which is a very, very strong codec, which means it does need expensive cards, unfortunately, for your SD cards, SanDisk, Extreme Pros, which are very expensive. The 4K production camera, which I have not seen yet, and it should have come out, I think, in July, has not, surprisingly, not come out yet. That's a sarcasm. Yeah? If you know about Blackmagic, it's cheap. How much was your camera? $1,000. How much was your camera? $2,000 for a camera. Is it misleading? Is it? Which camera do you buy that doesn't need any money being spent on it? They all need something spent on it. It does need a lot though. But it depends on how much. If he only shoots like little things which last 5 minutes, then he's okay. That requires one lens and on a tripod. But it's, I mean, you do need to spend money, but you could easily kit his camera out to a really good, especially with vintage Super 16 glass, for another couple of thou, and it's got a $3,000 RAW camera, which is really nice. So you do need to spend money on it, but it's not crazy amounts of money. It's not like the Epic that's going to require another 20,000 spent on it to get everything that you need to really make it work. So it's it's not too bad. The image, for the most part, is very good. You get a little bit of moire on there, depending on how much detail there is there. There's no anti-aliasing filter. Rolling shutter is atrocious, unfortunately, on both of them. Let's go look at the downsides. Data hungry, enormously hungry. 240 gigabytes in RAW is 30 minutes, which is a lot. So on ProRes HQ, we're looking at 30 minutes on a 64 gig. Or was it 128 gig card? 64? I get confused. For ProRes HQ.
ProRes, it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours on a 128 gig card.
It's not much as 2 hours.
I mean, I've never really touched that.
I think it's as much as that.
I think it's about an hour and a half.
Yeah. It is very, very hungry. So not only is it going to, it's your cards, it's your, what do you do with the cards afterwards? You offload them. You theoretically should offload them to a minimum of 3 hard drives. So we're looking at very, very expensive. I shot, wasn't even a long documentary. It was my first documentary I shot on the Blackmagic camera. I only rolled, I had like 65 minutes of rushes, and it was half a terabyte. And I was like, oh my God. If I did a feature documentary on this, I couldn't shoot RAW, and that's why RAW is only to be used, I think, in certain shots and certain situations. Otherwise, you end up literally with as many hard drives as an Amazon server center, which is fine if you work for the Amazon server center, where you can just plug it in there and offload, but most of us, we don't. SSDs for your camera, which is way cheaper than, unfortunately, his SD cards, and unfortunately, the audio is quite possibly the worst audio I've ever heard recorded on a camera. It makes the Canon DSLRs audio feel like high-end sound devices quality. It's terrible. Sounds like, if you use the internal microphone, it sounds like a phone conversation. it's very bad. You can plug in external microphones, but the preamps are very, 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 very weak. You also have no audio levels on the camera. So you don't really know. You can put headphones in, but that's not judging. You've got no ability to know whether it's actually working well or not. So it is a problem. You have to record externally on that. And even your B-roll sound, if you're trying to sync up your reference sound, you've got to make sure you keep it relatively low, because I've had stuff that I thought was okay in my headphones over-modulated like crazy. I'm like, huh? It sounded okay in my headphones. It's difficult. When I have shot with it, I've recorded a bit of audio, put it into the computer, looked at it, and actually adjusted it from there, which is not a great way of doing things. You do need a lot of add-ons to make them work. What are the most basic functions that it's missing?
Formatting on the camera.
And? Huh? You can't erase a clip. You can't format a card. I've gone out with shooting with the pocket camera, and I forgot to format the cards. I was stuck. I had to find somebody with a camera which could format an exFAT, which is what it needs, or Mac Journal. Right? No, I tell you what I did. I went to the Mac store. I went to the Apple store. I said, can I borrow the SD card slot? I just need to format my cards. But it's true, I had to, because you can't format in camera. You have no knowledge. You don't know when the camera's going to stop recording, which is difficult, especially if you're doing an interview. And I'm doing an interview, and I am operating, so my concentration is on you. I'm talking to you, and I'm not looking at the camera. I have no idea how much time I've got left. So what I have to do is, I'm doing an interview. Every time I put a new SSD in there, as big as possible, just to be safe. Because I don't want to do a fantastic answer with you, and I look over and it's stopped. I'm like, I have no idea when that ended. Let me play it back and have a check. Terrible. So that's, for me, the problem, and the audio levels. This is software, though. That's the annoying thing. It's totally fixable. It's not a hardware issue. It's purely software, so I'd love them to fix that. Sensor sizes are small. 4K camera will have Super 35. So it's okay. I prefer your camera to his camera, because yours is an actually recognized sensor size, so we can get glass which is matched perfectly to that. It makes more sense than yours, which is bigger, but of an awkward, non-standard size. So yeah, I mean, just we can see it here. So Super 35, Micro Four Thirds, Blackmagic is smaller than Micro Four Thirds, and Pocket Camera Super 16. Super 16 is a very standardized sensor. Super 16 looks fantastic. Who watches Walking Dead? Anybody? Come on. Sorry. It's fudging brilliant. Shot Super 16 on film, and it looks great. Hard as not the background out of focus. You're going to watch it. You won't see many shallow depth of field shots in it. It doesn't matter, because the composition and everything about its cinematography is beautiful. You don't necessarily need to have it. It's there. But the crop, if you're not used to that, is huge. So this is a shot. Ignore the fact it's speed boost. So this is a 50mm lens, 1.4 on the pocket camera. The same position in Super 35 is that. So that's how much we're losing on a 50mm lens. And if we had the same lens in a full frame, it's that, which is a massive difference. It's great if you want telephoto shots, but not so good if you want to shoot wider shots. So as you can see, massive difference. Let's get past that, we're doing on time. This is a little bit, I'll just play. This is actually something I shot on the pocket camera in, is it going to play? In Okay, so they're really good. For the money, they're great, and hopefully what they're going to do is also push the big manufacturers to implement these sort of features like raw video and good codecs. ProSHQ is a really good codec into affordable cameras. To put out the production camera is, I think, $4,000 when it comes out for a 4K Super 35mm camcorder without rolling shutter. Could be good. Might not be. I don't know. Both cameras have disappointed me to a degree. Your one is still one I like. Downside is the battery life for me is one of the biggest issues. You can buy the pocket camera. I think it's actually in stock. So yeah, I don't know about I'm sure the other ones are. It is a nice camera. For me, it's not an A camera, but it's a nice camera to keep with me for an extra angle really easily, and good for things like Steadicams or brushless gimbal stabilizers. Yeah, definitely. C100 is a cheaper version of the C300, minus a lot of the bells and whistles, as in the really good codec, the decent viewfinder. Other than that, it's very, very, very similar. I had people complain to me, well, why doesn't it have the same codec as the C300? Why doesn't it have the same viewfinder as C300? They're completely ripping us off. Well, because if they put those features in, it will be a C300. It's kind of obvious, really. It's like when you buy a car. Well, why has my car not got all the leather? Nice camera, AVC HD, but it outputs clean, so you can use an external recorder. Viewfinder is not very good, but the screen's good and it's right there. But you do need a rig because you can't use the viewfinder and the screen's too close. But I've just put a Zacuto Z Finder on it, and that helps enormously. One designed specifically for that camera, though. That's the C100. It's a nice camera. It's not that cheap, though, compared to DSLRs. I think it's in the region of, was it $5,000 or so here? $6,000. But the image is beautiful. It's beautiful. And if you already own one, anybody here own one? I don't know if the new ones will have this updated, but I'm going to send mine in, and they're going to do a little tweak inside, which is going to give it continuous autofocus, which none of the other cameras do, and apparently it's actually quite good. I'm not an autofocus fan, but I can imagine it on a Steadicam being of use. Other than that, it's not really great use because how does it know what I want to be in focus? I have composition where you're off to the right. It's going to think, oh, clearly he wants the middle in focus. I'm like, no, I want you in focus. So it's not really, especially if you're doing any movement, stuff like that, it's not really going to know. I mean, it's all focused on the pocket camera. It's absolutely useless. It's like it starts, and then you're watching it, and you're going, come on, come on, come on, come on. Almost there, almost, and it stops. Damn it. You press it again, and then it gets there, but it's not really of any use. So it's a really nice camera. It doesn't have slow motion at all, which is ridiculous. So, AVC HD, so it's a low 24 megabits per second, not very robust. This is the cheapest one out there, which is the FS100. Very nice image, quite possibly, even compared to Wagner's camera, the most pig-like camera I've had to operate. No, this is better than yours, sorry Wagner, because it has better audio. But the buttons don't make any sense where they are, and they're all flush. The screen's terrible, but the image is lovely. The image is lovely and does good audio. And needs a rig because it's a ridiculous shape. You may think, oh, that's like a really nice modular camera. Yes, it looks like it's a modular camera, but it isn't a modular camera. So, C100. I'm going to talk about the other ones. We may think, oh, what about the 5 and 55 and blah, blah, blah. I'll talk about it in a minute because we're getting onto the big 4K question. 4K, do we need it? Who said we don't need it? Who's the controversial person at the back? Clearly you don't work for LG televisions, do you? No? 4K or Ultra HD, UHD. Funny term, isn't it? It's like UHT. 4 times the resolution of HD, which technically means it should be 4 times better. Now, when we jumped from SD to HD, how much better was it?
4 times.
But how much better was it to you? Who didn't think it looked better? Come on. Yeah, it looked so much better. It was like, wow, so much better. Look, this is the difference we have here. Standard def, HD, 4K. Massive difference in size. So theoretically, yes, 4 times as much pixels means 4 times better. Who's got a 4K TV? No? Yeah, I've got a 4K TV. I do. Yes, $700 for a 39 or $1,200, I think, for like. What, sorry? For the 39 inch? Yeah. Is it? It's gone down in price. I only got mine recently. Yeah, well, who's seen a 4K TV? If not, go outside and have a look at them. Okay. Can you see a difference? Can I ask a little question to you? How close were you when you walk up to it? Yeah. Do you, if this is the TV here, do you go around B&H and go, God, look at that 4K TV, isn't that amazing? You don't, do you? You're like this. God, look at the detail, it's amazing. You can see what I'm getting at here, can't you? Here, who just talked about distances? You did at the back there. See a difference between, whoa, I've gone too far, 720 and SD on a 40-inch TV. You've got, if you're further away than 4.05 meters, I have no idea what that is in feet. 12 feet, you will not see a difference. That makes sense to you? So if you're anything from that and closer, you will see a difference between SD and 720 HD. You will see a difference. More than that, it looks like SD. 720 to HD needs to be 2.16 meters away. More than that, it looks the same as 720. 2.16 equals 8 feet. Now we're getting to smaller rooms. Fine if you live in New York with your small apartments, and if you live outside America where you have huge rooms, there's a problem. Now this is the scary thing. So a 4K TV, difference between that and HD on a 40-inch screen needs to be less than, whoops, get my little one on. 1.59 meters, which is what, 6 foot? Who sits 6 foot away from their TV here? I mean, if I have a bigger TV, then obviously it's going to increase. So 65 is what actually the manufacturers recommend, is the size you get minimum. Because you do need to sit closer to see a difference. And that kind of, I don't sit 6 foot from my TV, and I live in a small English house. I sit, I don't know, 12 foot away. It's just normal, 12 foot away. Seems right, so, but you can't tell the difference. So unless you watch TV like that, poor kids, that is basically the problem we have with 4K as a consumer format. And to give an example, this is my mum and dad. I consider them the consumer. Hello, mum and dad. You can quite often see my dad smoking on the screens downstairs. They have seen 4K. They've seen 4K. They saw 4K at my talk in London in February. I said to them, this is the future, 4 times better than your TV. My mum's reaction? My dad's reaction? And that's kind of, you know, that's the consumer, unfortunately. So does the consumer care? I don't think so. It's going to happen though. So I don't think the consumer cares as much unless you're super rich. Then you're going to buy yourself the 85-inch TV, which is like super expensive, but you can at least sit 12 foot away and it makes a difference. But then takes up most of your house. You probably can't get it in your front door. Okay, so I don't think they care, but I think we are going to have 4K. I think it's become, you know, they're making the panels, they're getting cheaper, and you'll buy a new TV and it just happens to have 4K. It's going to happen. The prices have dropped enormously now. You can buy a 55-inch for around $3,500, I think, which is dropped price massively. So it is there. There is no content. Nothing. There's nothing out there. There's no TVs. There's no the TV channels. There's no Blu-ray, 4K Blu-rays. You can Sony sell a box which has 10 movies on it, and you can download more. Other than that, there is no content. The content that I have for my 4K TV is my own stuff, which is incredibly boring to watch. I've seen this one, and I've seen this one, and I've seen this one. God, is there nothing else coming on? It's like a permanent loop. Do I shoot in 4K though? Most of the time. It looks better. It does look better. Close up, it looks better. Definitely looks better. Thing is, if it's for client work, I rarely do it. They can't cope with it. If I give them footage, they can't cope with it. If I tell them how much more it's going to cost them in post-production for me to deal with it, they don't want to pay it. So I do not shoot 4K very often. For a lot of the work though I shoot, I use it as an acquisition tool, whereas it is fantastic. And I'll show you why. This is Dubai. This is the top left of a frame. This is a 1080p image. So this is cropped, top left. Here's the top right of the image. Here's the bottom left of the image. Here's the bottom right of the image. There's the whole frame. You can see what I'm getting at here. The resolution makes things really quite useful for us in a creativity way. And 4K scaled down to 2K is quite possibly beyond beautiful, I'd say. Reframing and cropping, here we go. This is somebody's eye. He's actually a chap who did a workshop with me where he was editing. This workshop I did, everybody had to make a film and they had to edit it overnight. He chose to shoot on the 1DC. Hence he looked so tired. He finished like 5 in the morning. Okay, but that's nothing. This is what happens though when I zoom in. So that is cropped to effectively 1080. The detail there is exceptional, as is when I crop in again.
Go inside his brain.
Wow.
How on earth would I get that close? Canon do a 65-inch macro, which is ludicrously close. You can fit a grain of sand in the whole frame, but you have to get like that close to it, which means you've got no light. It's really difficult. You can crop and get some astonishing results with this. And the other thing is, for my documentaries, I shoot 4K for my interviews because 2 cameras in one. Here's my main shot. Here's the same frame. He does an and an ah, too many of them. That was not all of them. If I want to cut out a chunk, I can decide when to crop. The downside is the depth field does not change, as you can see. So optically, it doesn't look, it doesn't change, which can be actually slightly jarring at times, only slightly. You expect it to change when you change, it's like change a different camera angle, but it definitely works. And in fiction, you work with actors. Actors' performances vary constantly between take to take, generally. So on this film I shot on Epic, we shot 5K but edited in HD. And our actor was fantastic on our medium wide, but when we went for our close-up, he was electrifying in his medium wide. His close-up he was great, but we wanted it as a close. That was what we wanted, and it wasn't as good. So what do? We simply cropped it. Now, these are, don't do it all the time. Doesn't mean you stop doing your close-ups, but it just gave us that ability to make the film better because he was better in the close-up. So definitely there, but it's not an excuse for lazy cinematography. It doesn't mean you shouldn't get your coverage. It just means creativity and it's like a get-out-of-jail-free card at times. And I really love shooting 4K for that reason. The other reason is this. Getting the shots you just don't have the glass for. I'm going to show you something which is a little bit what I'm looking for. It is abstract. Show you an abstract piece that I shot using them. The 55 is used for the big wides, just because I had it and I wanted to shoot with it. But all the telephoto stuff is shot with a 1DC because I had this most ridiculous Canon lens to shoot with, which is the 800 f4. F4? F5.6. It's F4. And an extender on. And then I also put another extender on at times. Just because I just want to see how ridiculous I could see. And I was filming, this is Lake Michigan, a place called New Buffalo. And Now the horizon, if you're on the level ground floor, if I was on the beach here and this is the water and it's completely flat, the horizon's like 3 miles away, 3.1 miles away. Obviously it's further if you go high up visually. But what was so cool was I could see the tips of Chicago skyscrapers, which were 40 miles away, because obviously they're higher, so I can see them. And I was like, I wonder if I can see them through this lens. And I went, yes, I can. And so I decided to shoot these things. And then I didn't have much light, because I started filming quite late, just very, very, very end of sunset. But I filmed something else at the same time, which is ridiculous. So some of these are on the 800. Some of them on the 800 with a 2x extender, and some of them are with two 2x extenders, which gave me equivalent of a 3200 millimeter lens, which is ridiculous. Very, very hard to use. You can't use IS on it because it just floats all around like crazy. So you have to pray for no wind. You've got to completely hit record and just get away from the camera and don't have any vibration anywhere near it. It's softer with the extenders, so because I edited in HD, I was able to digitally zoom in and crop to get some of this effect here. So I'll just play this for you now. It's a little bit abstract. So just quickly, 4K cameras. Got the 1DC, the C500, which needs an external recorder. So otherwise it's a C300 essentially. The F5 and 55, you need to have, if the 55 records internally on 4K on S/S cards, the 5 needs this box here, which is the R5 recorder, and you can only shoot RAW, and it's as bad as your camera, I'm afraid, Wagner. It's 240 gigs will give you 30 minutes, which is a lot of data. Whereas the internal recording on 55 is XAVC, which is really lovely and efficient. This is not a very good camera, particularly because it's their prosumer 4K. Moires and aliases like crazy, but it's a 4K camera. It's the cheapest, currently cheapest 4K camera out there. The Red Epic and Scarlett, lovely camera. It's a cinema camera though, it's a different beast. You don't film everything with it. The FS700 is 4K capable with an external recorder. If you want RAW, you must have the Sony one, and you have to have this interface box here, and then you have to have a V-Lock battery on the back, and you end up with a beast of a bazooka or a camera. It is literally like this. You can, if you don't want RAW, you can get a Convergent Design external recorder, which is the monitor, which is really good. Quite expensive still, but you can't shoot RAW on it, not in 4K, only in 2K. But it does. This gives me 240 frames per second continuous RAW. Whereas if I shoot without it, I can do 8 seconds buffered in super slow motion.
Still a lot slower at HD, right?
240 frames in 2K. You can do 4K super slow motion on this, but only in, I think it's like 2 to 3 second burst in that. If you want continuous, you can only shoot in 2K. So there's this one. It's expensive. You add it all up, it turns into a very, very expensive camera. Blackmagic, when it comes out, at some point in the future, who knows? And surprisingly, Samsung Galaxy Note 3 shoots 4K. I've got one of these, and it's actually not bad. I filmed my takeoff and landing coming in here because they let you on those Delta. God, it's a crap airline. I was by the window, and then it's great. I think all your airlines are doing this now. You can keep electronics on when you, which is like, I should have got the 1DC out, got my tripod out, plonked it down. No, I didn't have space. I didn't have space for my legs, let alone my other legs. So that wasn't going to happen. But this is ridiculous that I can shoot 4K on the phone. You can't even play it on there, really. It's a 1080 screen. And it doesn't even play on a Samsung TV, 4K TV. It's ridiculous, but it does it. And you can zoom in, and it's like, wow, this is really good. So yeah, big downside to 4K. Number one is money. Money is right. Okay. You can shoot 4K. Additional cost in time means labor. Don't forget, that's one thing people keep forgetting. Oh, it's not just the hard drives, it's your time. Your time is money. It takes so much longer to edit something in 4K. I shot a documentary called An Amish Man in 4K RAW on the 55. I would have taken me a day or two to edit it. Ended up taking a week because of all the additional time to work with it. So that's my time. It's a lot of money. And here's the cost. This is in pounds, probably not that much more in dollars because we pay everything more. So the cards for the 55 are expensive. You don't pay that on yours, do you? Nice cheap SSDs, generics, pretty much you're fine. And for Motion JPEG on the 1DC, you have to use the big expensive cards. And it's only 30 minutes for 128 gig. At least yours is 60 minutes on 128 gig. Yeah, so it's a problem. It's an expense problem. Things get cheaper, of course, but they're not cheap yet. Now, when I shoot docs most of the time, and I like to have enough, I never offload in a day. It's a big mistake. You do that, you're going to screw up. So I need roughly, if I do interviews, God, on the 1DC, I need at least 6 to 8 hours worth of cards to shoot without offloading. You can see how much money I have to spend on memory cards to use this camera. It's a very expensive problem. As I say, Amazon server is your solution. It would be great if the internet was so good that we could literally use it real time. That's the future. Way away from that right now, but that's going to be our future. So should you shoot 4K now? And only for acquisition, really, unless your client does. I've shot 4K professionally 8 times, only 8 times. Do you know how many of those have gone to 4K, mastered in 4K? 0. 4 for the web, 2 for broadcast, HD, and 2 for standard definition broadcast. And yet they wanted epic. I'm like, I'm not, if you want epic, we'll shoot epic. You're stupid, but we'll do it. Silly mistake. It's like they got it, and like they were scratching their heads, like, so we got the files. What do we do now? I'm like, yeah, you need to convert it. Production companies in London are really backwards. I don't want to like here. My friend just finished a doc, actually just went out recently on one of the networks, and he shot HD. And they edited it at 15:1 compression ratio because they couldn't handle the HD, their edit system, which is ridiculous for HD. I've shot edit HD at home on laptops for 6 years or more. The cameras that shoot RAW with the 700, 500, the hacked Mark III, when we get the 4K production camera, the 55 and 5, the pocket camera for the chap back, and the Red. Increased dynamic range is key. Flexibility in post. It's not designed to, if you do not light properly or do things properly, it's designed to help you, especially in problematic lighting situations. Very, very flexible. Here's an example in Venice on the 55. So what's wrong with this shot? It's blown out. Shot at 1250 because that's the native sensitivity of the camera. When you shoot RAW, it always shoots native sensitivity of the camera. So you shoot on your Blackmagic camera in RAW, it's always 800. Even if you change the actual ISO on your camera, all you're changing is metadata. It comes in, it will say you've shot at 400, but it's still recorded at 800. So you just change it down to 800, and that's what it recorded at. That's the way it is. The FS700 when you shoot RAW is ISO 2000. Can't go below it. I think it's really high, it's too high. So, okay, here it is, and we can easily pull it back by dropping it 2 1/3 stops. So the flexibility of it is absolutely superb. So that's what I love about RAW, is that ability to do it. Of course, I could have just exposed it properly. But then I don't have that test. I don't have the slides to show you. I think exposing properly is probably the best answer, but it gets you out of a hole. For example, if that bright area was in part of a shot, but I needed the shadows, I could mask it off in Resolve and have both. So there is that. So big downside, money. Let's get through this. Would I shoot RAW if I could? Every single time if I could. If I could afford it and integrated and didn't cost me time, I would. And it didn't bloat up my hard drives. And at some point, every camera will most likely shoot RAW and 4K. It's going to happen, slowly, some of them. But they are. Cameras like the Blackmagic are pushing it through. So cameras, Canon, Sony have to compete with the lower-end cameras, not with just external recorders, but internally. They have to. Blackmagic have shown that you can do it. They may not have implemented it as well as they should, but they're showing at that cost you can do it. So, I mean, I've kind of, whether you shoot RAW or 4K, I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. So should you still shoot with the DSLR? I still shoot. Look, this is my newest camera, and I'm always out with this. It's only 1080. It has moire rate, it has aliasing, but the image is really nice, and it shoots really good stills. And it's got an IS lens on it. It has a really nice viewfinder. I don't need a rig, so I can get really high quality video just with this. There's definitely a place with DSLRs. When I get hired, though, am I bringing this along? No, I'm not. I'm bringing a big camera. Yeah, this.
While recording video?
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's stunning. Yeah. All right, thank you very much. Any questions?
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.